Welcome to Hand Sewing from the HTA. In this episode I'm going to teach you how to use a needle and thimble. So I have here just a sample of cloth. I have my needle and then I have my thimble and then I have some needles. So the first thing you want to do is where do you wear the thimble? There's a huge misconception. The thimble is worn on the thumb, which it is not. The thimble is actually worn on the middle finger of the dominant hand. Alright, now I have heard and used every excuse going as to why not to use a thimble. I've met people, and even myself, I remember even right early on, I resisted using a thimble. It just felt so alien. And I've done it and seen people do it where they put leather or tape and stuff around their fingers just so they don't have to use a thimble. In essence, they're just finding a substitute for a thimble. You absolutely must learn how to use a needle and thimble if you want to have any success when sewing. Otherwise, what you're doing is something like this. The bigger needle here. This is what people do when they don't know how to use a needle and thimble. They hold the needle like that, and then they try going like this, and then pushing it this way, and then picking it this way, or they end up sewing like this, which I've also seen. That is not the correct way of sewing. It is also not. It's not practical. Having control over the whole idea of the thimble is to push the needle forward, and you'd get away with doing stuff like that in the beginning if you're only sewing on very light stuff. But once you go to try to start, basting a whole coat together, or sewing on buttons or anything like that, you need the thimble behind it, because the thimble is the power which is pushing the needle forward. Now, probably the most difficult part is getting used to holding your finger back there. So you're actually holding your finger behind the needle and then pushing it forward with your finger. So what we have here is an elastic band. This is something that's often done to apprentices, is that they take the elastic band like that and they wrap it around the knuckle of their finger, like so. And that holds the finger back, and then pop the thimble on. And then you take your thumb and forefinger and you hold the needle there like so, and then the thimble is behind it. And that's how you hold it. And then what happens is when you put it into the cloth like that, you use the thimble to push the needle forward. Hold it there like that, so you're using the front of the thimble to push forward the needle. Now, what a lot of apprentices will do at the beginning, while they're still learning, is they'll actually use the side of the thimble there like that. You can do that. It actually does work. You just don't have the same amount of power if you're pushing it forward, because your finger naturally goes forward like that and it pushes the needle with it. So what I recommend that you do is just start by practicing. Get a thimble, preferably open top one. I used to keep mine in my keys when I lived in London, and I used to keep a needle put into the lapel of my jacket or something like that. And when I was sitting on trains or buses or whatever, what I do is I practice my needle and thimble skills by just sitting there and pushing it, just even pushing it through the leg of my trousers or that. So that's it there like that. So you get the needle behind it. Sorry, you get the thimble behind the needle, and then you push it forward with the front of the thimble, like so. Now, your left hand or less dominant hand, it also plays a part as well. Generally what you do is you keep your finger, so it's either, if you're basting flat on the table there like that, you have your finger there and the needle pushes forward towards the thimble. Sorry. You put your finger down like that and the thimble pushes the needle towards your finger, like so. And that's how so if you're going to baste a long line here, you have your finger like that, and then to the next one like that, and then so on down the length of the piece. Now, if you're doing it in your hand, what you do is you put the needle in, and you're feeling with this finger underneath to where so you're essentially lining up the needle to go through the cloth to this finger. Now, you don't want to go into your finger or through your finger, but it will start to look like a pin cushion after a while, because generally when you start off, you keep hitting your finger. After a while, of course, you'll stop that. You'll stop piercing your finger every time the needle goes in. you find it with your finger here, and you're guiding it back up to your thumb. So it's between, you're essentially stitching there like that. You're passing it this way through, you know, coming into this and then being passed out to the top of your thumb. So it's like that there. And then if you try to thread it off from the underside, then the needle coming in, being pushed up that. So you're essentially catching it with your forefinger and pushing it up to your thumb, like so. And all the time you're trying to keep your finger back, your thimble behind the needle, using the front of the thimble to push the needle forward. As I say, you can learn to use it using the elastic, wrapping it on there like that, having it to hold it back, and then sewing it there like so. That can help you keep that finger back behind it. Remember, it's not the side, although like a lot of people start off using the side of their finger, but you just don't have the same amount of power. Than if your finger doesn't really go like that, it goes like that. So like using it at the front of it, push the needle along. And if you can pick up that skill, needle and the thimble, you can then go on to master a number of stitches that we're going to be showing you in this lesson. But that's all we have time for this class. Thank you for watching.